Hi, welcome to Transformational Alchemy. My name's Nigel, and today I'm here to talk to you about the stupid stories in your head and why they're keeping you stuck, how the hell you can change them, and why they're there in the first place. So, I guess let's get into it. We're going to start with just a really simple idea. You are going to become the stories that you believe, if you're not already that. Whatever story you hold on to and believe, you will become, because our beliefs guide our actions. And the stories that we wrap up our lives in are the expression of those beliefs. Now, this is my first live. I'm a little bit nervous, but we're going to keep going with it. Tonight is not today is not about motivation. You've got all the motivation you need internally, whether you can see it or not. Today is about exploring your perception of who you are. Right now, I am coming up against a lot of my stories that are telling me I'm looking quite stupid. And they may be true, but the only way I can change them is to face up to them. So that's what I'm doing here today. The single most powerful story you will ever believe is the one you never realized you were telling. And that's the secret to this is we know some of our stories that are in our heads, but there's some that are so much a part of who we think we are that we don't even realize that they're stories. We've conflated the idea of story with us. But let's get into it. Okay. Every single person is walking around like they're inside their own private book or library for some of us. We all have people that have influenced us and told us stories about the world. Our parents, our grandparents, our brothers, our sisters, our friend group, the TV, politicians, whatever. There's all these stories that have come through from everywhere. And some of them we latch onto and we hold and we make them a part of us. We might change the words a little bit here and there, but essentially we're gathering all of these stories from the world and making them a part of us. And we do this in effect to navigate the world. There's so much information, just looking at the world, there's so much information coming in, not even minding the digital age stuff. And as animals, we've got this amazing design which has helped us thrive and grow, where we can predict to a certain extent what is going to happen in our world through the use of story and understanding to analyze the world and preempt something that's going to occur. You know, if we're thinking about caveman us, we might be in an area where we know that there's been a tiger nearby, and we hear a slight rustle in the reeds. We know we need to be aware because there might be a tiger in those reeds. Of course, it might be a mouse. We don't know. But the point is that the stories allow us to keep ourselves more safe by predicting what could happen in the future. And this is perfectly fine when it's dealt at that level. The system works fantastic. It's far from foolproof, but it works pretty bloody well as an early warning system. But what happens is when we get into our modern world, sometimes these stories, instead of helping us be safe, which is their design, they keep us more stuck. So when something's keeping us stuck, it's blocking us from being a better version of ourselves. And to further that, how it blocks us being a better part of ourselves is the stories are going to act like a filter system. So the stories that we hold, so let's say you hold a story of, God damn, I'm always so poor. If that's the case, your brain is going to be filtering out all of the opportunities that might make you more abundant. Because in your mind, you are not, you are poor. You're holding on to that story of poverty, of lack, of not having enough. And in doing so, your brain actively filters out all of the opportunities that may be there for you to change that. It's a pretty powerful thing. So if you feel like there's some part of you that's experiencing this in some way, keep on listening. There's going to be some ways where you can counteract it and start to change these stories in your mind. So just a bit of a thought on this before I move on to the next bit. Your brain is loyal to your past, not your potential, unless you teach it otherwise. So in other words, your brain is trying to keep you safe. It's loyal to who you have been. Going to stretch yourself to your potential is risky. And most of the stories in our heads, not all, but most, are more about keeping us safe at some level or another. Okay. So I've touched on it a little earlier, but where do these stories come from? Well, they come from all over the place, but most of them, the deepest stories, the ones that we don't even really realize are stories, because we've lived with them for so long that they just feel like they're us. Those ones predominantly come from our early childhood. Things that our parents have said, things that our siblings and extended family have said, moments of action and consequence that have been indelibly etched into our mind as a story. It's about survival, physical and emotional, and it's also about inherited family narratives. So whatever your parents and their parents and their parents believed could well have come down the line, and now that is your belief. Doesn't mean it's actually your belief. It's something you've inherited as a story passed down from generation to generation. And if you don't like that story, now's a really good time to change it. So there's a bit of a theory that I've only just touched on, but it's called the schema theory. And it's basically that we form our core beliefs early, which is what I've just expressed. And then basically all of our later experiences get refined by that. We kind of sort it into those belief systems. So whatever we experience as we get older, we view through the lens of those beliefs that we have created and formed when we're really young. Now, there's a thing, and there's lots of ways of doing it, a thing called neural pruning. And it's basically, it's to do with something called Hebb's law. And if you haven't heard of that, I suggest you go and have a look. But it's basically where when we replay a story or when we replay an activity in our minds, the part of our brain that is wired to receive and understand that gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Now, there is a fair bit of science behind that. I don't really want to go into that today, but I can expand on that if anybody wants to hear more. And what it basically means is it's like if you could imagine that your mind when you're young is all these little dirt tracks and they're all going everywhere. But some of those dirt tracks you walk on more and more often. And eventually as you grow up, they get wider and wider and easier to walk. And then one day you're like, oh, you keep doing it, and somebody's upgraded it. Now it's a Now it's a road and everything moves super fast. So why would you go down the other pathways that are all like crappy tracks when you've got this road taking you straight to this place in your mind? So it becomes the dominant access point for your thoughts. And it's why we get stuck in patterns, because we develop these patterns and they can work for us for a while. They have their use. But the day comes when those patterns aren't serving us anymore and we struggle like hell to break them. And that's because the wiring in our brain is so focused on that destination, that linkage, that all the other linkages are much harder work. And we as humans, we like to take the easiest path as often as possible. That's just the way that goes. So thinking back onto where they all come from, most of your beliefs didn't really come from you. They came from other sources of family around you. And if your stories that you're holding on to are part of the suffering which you're experiencing at the moment, that suffering isn't your fault directly, but it is 100% your responsibility to change it, to finish it, to stop that suffering by changing the stories, the beliefs in your mind. Okay. Now, I've definitely touched on this, but we'll go a little deeper. So these stories are designed to protect us. They often, not all of them, but many of them will often come up at some stage in life and become a prison, a roadblock, something that prevents us from achieving a goal, a wish, a desire that we have to experience in our life. So it's these stories are made with care in mind. They're made with the idea of protection and love in mind, usually. But they can be distorted and no longer serve their purpose. They stop protecting us and they start to actually impair us, to hurt us. Most of the stories are about safety, about belonging, about control of oneself and where we sit in the chaotic environment that is humanity and the earth. I can say I was speaking to a relative recently, really dear to me, and she's feeling a bit lonely at the moment. And she has this story in her mind where she is lonely but she doesn't want to disturb anybody, like she doesn't want to upset anybody, and just be proactive about reaching out and saying hello. And she's also got this theory where, well, she's not that outgoing. So to go and join some sort of activity group and find a new group of friends that you may possibly gel with, in her mind, is a leap too far. And that story that she believes, that inner belief, and it's very simple on the surface, but those inner beliefs where it's not great to disturb other people, and I'm a little bit shy. I'm not an out there person, so I don't feel right in those situations. Maybe they really served a purpose when she was younger, but now they are keeping her stuck. She's in a place where she's lonelier than she would like to be, but she doesn't need to stay there. The only thing keeping her there is her beliefs. So I hope you can feel a little bit of that for yourself. And we're going to expand on that and open up what stories are happening in your head that are keeping you stuck. You'll find some obvious ones and You may find some that you're like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that was a thing. But let's keep going a little further. So at this level, when this is happening, when this situation of our beliefs turning into our roadblocks happens, we're getting a lot of cognitive dissonance come in. And that's where basically if we get some new information that threatens our understanding of ourselves, our self-belief, our core values, we are going to distort our view of the world in order to preserve the safety of feeling like our values are set, our beliefs are solid. So we can look at the world with such distortion through our beliefs, and because of it, that we don't see the world as others see it. We see the world in a completely different way. And that can be problematic, to say the least. Can be really dangerous. It can also be very dispiriting. Like if others see us in a certain light, but we can't see it in ourselves, that can cause a lot of different problems, a lot of different issues where we don't feel like we fit in, when in reality, we do. We're just like everybody else. And it goes way deeper. And this part's kind of dear to me. It's part of the research I've been doing. There's what I've got in my notes here is there's a default mode network. So when the brain's a bit idle, it's going to replay the same self-stories. So especially for the overthinker type peoples, you're going to replay situations in your mind again and again and again and again and again. And that replaying just adds more fuel to the fire of your beliefs being more rock solid, immovable, untouchable. And it makes it harder and harder to make change. So I think for this one, the best way of looking at it is, if you are feeling like you're in your comfort zone, then your stories are probably holding you back from what you would truly enjoy experiencing in life. Your comfort zone isn't a place, it's a story, it's a narrative that says, as long as I'm safe, everything's good. I'm allowed to be as I am. And I personally don't think that that's what life is about. I think that life is much more about living deeply, experiencing the world. You know, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's shit. But sometimes it's amazing joy and sometimes it's crushing pain. And that is part of life. Doesn't mean go and throw yourself in front of a car and get run over because it's a dumb thing to do. That's not the sort of story we're talking about here. It means if you find resistance, on the other side of that resistance, there's something calling you. And you just need to be willing to push through it, to get uncomfortable. Or, as I've heard some people say before, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Okay, so the loop that happens in our minds, it's pretty simple, really. Something will happen in our lives and an event will trigger us. That trigger will stir an emotion. That emotion has an attached meaning. So whatever emotion is happening will be attached to a meaning. Depends on the situation. And that meaning will propagate a certain behavior from you. And doing that loop again and again, every time you get triggered, reinforces the whole thing. And I've got a quiz that can help you understand which parts of your brain are doing this to you the most. I've put them as characters. So we've got characters in our head that run these patterns for us. And when something happens, when we feel stress, so when we have some sort of triggering event and we feel a sense of stress of some level, one of these characters or more will take over your mind. So your consciousness level drops and your subconscious kicks into gear big time and starts playing out these loops. And each of these characters can have a different loop attached to them. And then you find yourself back to where you started and, oh crap, I'm here again. Understanding the exact events that are causing it is such a powerful way to start to change that process, to start to not go down that highway that you built in your mind and instead choose a different path that's not so well worn and find out what there is down that path, because you already know what's on the highway. You've been up and down there 1,000 times. There's nothing new there. Go down the path, something new may come. Okay, so you don't need different circumstances to make change in your life. You need to interpret the world in a different way. And that's what this story loop is. It's basically trying to get you to. The story loop is a really efficient method for our brains to take information, process it really fast, and deal with it. And it works super well until it doesn't. And we're talking about the times where it doesn't. And in that case, we need to create a new loop, a loop that is beneficial and useful for us right now, not us back in the past, because that person doesn't exist anymore. They are a figment of your imagination. They are a story in your mind, funnily enough. So don't be beholden to that person from the past. Take honor in who you are right now and write new stories. And so in the next section, when we see the story, as I mentioned, I've got this quiz that explains part of, in a fun kind of a way, what's controlling our mind, or which part of us is, which part of you, which character in your mind is controlling you the most. And awareness is such a huge part of transformation. If we are unaware, we cannot transform. It's not possible. When we become aware, we can start to take steps. So this whole video is about making you aware of the stories. And what you do with it is up to you. But awareness at least sets the ball rolling, gives you an option to make a change. So what we're going to do, if we can take a couple of minutes, anybody that's watching this, write out a couple of things that you want to achieve in life and you've wanted to do for a while and you haven't done it yet. And then take your moments and write down why. Sit there, take your time. Write out why you haven't done them yet. Write out why. So if you're unfortunately going a little bald, that might just be because that's what's happening to me, that's the way it is. Cool, that one can't do much about. But if you want to write a book and you're like, oh, I just don't have time, or I don't know where to start, or oh, I don't think it'll be successful, or whatever other story you want to attach to that dream. If you write those down, then you look at them. Just look at them. So take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, I don't care how long. All of the things that you want to do, sit there, write the thing down, write all of the bullshit reasons, and be as brutally honest with yourself as you can. Don't bullshit yourself. Write all the bullshit reasons down and then look at them and go, is this a story? So is it because I won't do it? Or is it because I literally can't do it? And everyone where you put that you won't do it, that's the story, pure and simple. And some of the ones where you put I can't may also be stories because we are good at bullshitting ourselves. But all of the ones where you said, I won't do it, or I haven't done it yet, they're all story. And they can be changed. So, and by just doing that practice, so hopefully you've paused this video and you've sat down and you've done it. By doing this practice, you give your mind new pathways. You see the world in a different light. And that highway that you've developed from point A to point B that gets you nowhere, you don't want to go down that one so much. There's a part of you that's like, oh, that's just not so fun anymore. And now that you can see it, you can name it, you can start avoiding it. You can start choosing a different option much more easily. Be curious. Okay. Now I think I said before, like shitty stories, but just be curious about them. What are your stories? Just go with it from a fascination point of view, and you'll be surprised at what comes out. So, I mean, the big part here is the moment you can watch the story instead of playing it in your mind, you have already started to change the ending. Boom. It's as easy as that. Yeah. Okay. It's not that easy, but that's how it all starts. Excuse me. Okay. So we can now understand a bit better what our stories are, where they've come from, and how to see them a little bit more. What's the next step? We need to put the brakes on. So we've got the awareness, or at least a bit more awareness than we had before. We need to have that awareness in the moment that it counts. So we need to be able to interrupt the loop as it's happening. So there's some super simple things you can do. Once you're aware, just keep aware. So pay attention to your mind. Whenever a moment of stress comes up and you see that pattern that you've just outlined, you can see that story that you've told yourself. Oh, it's never going to be good enough. Oh, I don't have the time. When you hear those stories coming in your mind, that is the time to break the loop. It won't work every time because your loops are so ingrained that even when you're watching, you can get sucked in by them. They're very, very, they take us away. They take our attention very easily. Haven't got the right word, but that's okay. So what you can do, the moment you feel it, the best thing to do for most situations is just pause. Have a small pause. Give yourself a moment, a second, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it is. Just taking that time to pause, breathe, move away, have a laugh, a smile, write something down. Whatever it is, some small thing you can do that breaks the pattern. So instead of going trigger, emotion, story, response, you go trigger, emotion, story, break. Step away. You change the response. It's a technique anybody can do. It does take practice, but anybody can do it. It's super simple. It's just a case of getting close enough in touch with your stories that you see them as they're happening. And as I said, you won't get it right every time. So don't think that that's a thing. There's going to be moments where you get swept up in that story, you get swept up in that loop, and you're like, I'm back again. Damn it. It's okay. It's part of learning. That's what this is. This is all about learning. Laugh along the way. If it doesn't go well, you go, okay, I'll do better next time. Cool. Laugh, move on. It's not that serious in terms of you're just learning, you're going to make mistakes. Don't beat yourself up over it. Just enjoy the process as much as you can. Okay, so out of all of those little micro pauses that you can do to break that cycle, breathing is such a simple one. Like, I have a technique which is pretty simple. It's a bit more than just a breath, but if something's really heavy, so it's not just like, oh, a little bit, like if there's some really big emotions in play, what you can do is just, if you're sitting down, sit down. If you're standing up, stand up. Relax your shoulders, cross your hands, cross your arms at your wrists, fingers interlocked, and just tuck them under your chin. Close your eyes and breathe. It takes a few seconds. I can already feel myself much more calm. I'm doing something that is pretty out there for me, and I can feel the tension. The moment I drop my shoulders and breathe and let the breath just flow, deep but not forced, all that tension started to evaporate. And you can do this anywhere. It's also great if you can cross your ankles as well. That's a bonus. It will reset your mind on a couple of levels. The breathing just calms everything down, removes the cortisol from being pumped in quite as hard. And the crossing of the arms and the legs is actually really good at getting both hemispheres of your brain to communicate better. It helps to cross the neural bridge between both halves of your mind. And since that will help you find more balance in the way you're thinking, again, it's much easier to get you into a place where you can make a calm, considered decision instead of an emotive response. You can make a considered, conscious decision from a place of calm. It is so simple. If you haven't already done it, do it now and just feel the difference. 5 seconds. If you do it for 30 seconds, even better. A minute, for most people, you don't need to go over a minute. And let's say something really, really big's happening. Let's say you're in the middle of a breakup and your heart is ripped in shreds, and you can feel all of these patterns wanting to launch out of you. Get into that position, breathe a little bit until you feel calmer. Probably those emotions will rise again, and maybe only in a few minutes. Go back into the position. Calm yourself down. Take the emotion away. Not saying emotion's bad. Emotion's a fantastic thing. Not saying deny the emotion. Accept the emotion. Embrace the emotion. Part of that breathing actually helps to allow the emotion to escape us, not be trapped by us. When we start to do this reactive, I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but once we do this reactive loop in response to a triggered emotion, then we are, in essence, actually bottling up that emotion and giving more power for a future outburst. That's why some people will break out into anger. They can bottle it up, and then boom, and it breaks out into anger because all this stored emotion, all this stored energy from this emotion has been bottled up. And at some point, it's going to release. Relaxing your shoulders, crossing your arms and your legs, and breathing deep, regular breaths without forcing will help to let that emotional energy lift off of you. It's unbelievably powerful technique, and it's ridiculously simple. Ridiculously simple. Anyway, back to it. Okay. So the reframe and rewire is the next section. So we've managed to start breaking our habits, breaking our patterns, which is a huge first step. If you can start breaking them, even if you go through with them again after, if you can break them for a few seconds, so you've seen them, you've started to break the actual cycle, the reactive element of it, then you're well on the pathway to changing your stories in your mind. And that's where we're at now. We're going to start changing these stories. And this is where we can basically just focus on the stories themselves. So if your story is, I never have enough time, you can simply change that. It's just reframing to, I can create 5 minutes. That's a totally different energy about those two things. I never have enough time. Oh, I can make 5 minutes. Sure, I'll do that. Blah 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 blah. Totally different feeling, totally different energy, and instead of being blocked in the action that you're wanting to create, you've given yourself a green light to go further. 5 minutes doesn't seem like much. You're probably not going to write that book that we were talking about in 5 minutes, but you can write 100 words, maybe. It's 100 words that you hadn't written before. And that 5 minutes may turn out to be a bit longer. You might be able to squeeze a bit more time, but even if it is only the 5 minutes, it started it moving. You've started the momentum. So whenever you feel that mode and you've broken that loop, really think about what it was you were saying in your mind. Write it down if you can, and rewrite it with a framing that allows you to be what you want to be. And if you need help with that sort of stuff, drop me a line. That's basically what I do for a living, is I help people understand their stories, reframe them, and open up pathways to be more of who they choose to be. Another one people like to do is you can journal it. So whatever old thought you've got, I mean, it's pretty much the same sort of thing, but just a thought, whatever thought that you've got that you feel is part of what's holding you in, write it down. Give that thought 3 new meanings. Look at that thought from different angles and find 3 meanings to it that you don't have for it at the moment. It's very much the same thing as the other reframing, but just done in a slightly different way. And such powerful insight you can give yourself, and such amazing opportunity to move forward. So we talked a little bit before about Hebb's law. Our brains are plastic and fluid. We may get stuck into our highways of thought, but we can create new pathways. There's no end to the pathways we can create if we're willing to put in the effort. And yes, there will be effort involved in this. This is not always simple. So there is effort involved, because the highway is much less effort to get from A to B than going on a pathway that goes from A to some other place. But it can be done. Our brains are flexible enough that we can learn new things, we can learn new stories, we can learn new core beliefs, we can feel new core beliefs. I have a process that I do with clients called psyck-k, and it works on rewiring our subconscious. So we bypass conscious thought and we dig right into our subconscious beliefs in that process. And in that one, we open up new pathways using those processes. So we can basically neutralize to a certain extent the old beliefs and open up opportunity for new beliefs to flourish. They still need action to make it happen, but it is possible to manipulate our brains, for want of a better word, into new thinking patterns. It's very, very much possible. If you want to know more, hit me up below. Okay. This is one I can work on myself a lot. Something called embodied cognition. So when you are doing this new process for yourself, so when you've got the old process, you've blocked it, you've renamed it, you've reframed it. When you go to take action in it, how you take that action is important. If you embody that action, so if your posture, your tone, your overall attitude is very much, yes, I can, that is going to help to reinforce that reframed belief. If it is, oh, not sure I can, you're not giving it the full impact that it could have. You can still get there over time, you can still chip away at it, but you'll notice that when you really embody the new action aligned to the new belief story, way more impactful, way more impactful. And that's the ideal that we're trying to reach. So yeah, every time you tell a new story to yourself and you deeply feel it, like deeply feel it in yourself, you become much less of who you were in the past, and you start to become who you can be. You start to become that person that the new story is telling you you are. And that's the beauty of story. We can edit it, we can rewrite it. It's bloody fabulous. Yeah. And so, yes, this next part is, I've kind of touched on it already, but it is about taking those beliefs and acting on them. We have to take action. Just simply changing a belief might feel good in the moment, but unless we take action on it, what's going to happen is in moments of high stress, our minds are going to go to that highway instead of to that recently opened up pathway, because the highway is easier. And in moments of stress, we tend to go to what's easy, what's familiar. We need to take action to start opening up this other pathway and make it its own highway in time. We don't get there just by thinking. We have to act. If we don't take action, nothing changes. It's that simple. All the thought you can have, great, you can learn a lot of stuff. You don't truly learn until you take action. Wisdom is not something that you think. Wisdom is experience distilled. And you only get that experience by doing. Sorry to harp on, but it's such an important point. And I know there's a lot of people out there that can try and think their way through a problem. That's great. You need to have options that are thoughtful and considered. But if you only ever stay thinking, you never change. Have fun with that. Okay. The actions that you take don't have to be massive. Small, consistent acts We'll change things. And consistency is far more important than a one day's big act of all this power, action, movement, energy. A reasonable amount every day is way more important, way more impactful than a day or two here or there of, I got it, I'm doing it, yes, yes, yes. And then followed by a week of, oh, back to the same old shit. And then another day of, yes, 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 yes. And a week of the same old shit. Consistent is going to get you there much better. Now, for some of us, myself included, consistency is not so easy. So just make the bar low enough that consistency is more and more possible. So consistency might be something as simple as taking a moment for a deep breath once a day. It takes 3 seconds. You can put an alarm on your phone. Take 3 deep breaths. Done. Boom. And okay, you're still probably not going to be perfect even at that. But if you start developing the habit of being consistent, then your story that you're not consistent, see what I did there, will start to shatter. And you'll become that thing that your new story tells you are. You will become consistent. And these loops, these patterns, these intertwinings are everywhere. We are completely filled with them. So whenever you're telling yourself something, there's a story there. And at some level, that story is probably not helping you. So do this process, understand what's happening, and make change. Small, simple changes are enough. If you're wonderful enough to be able to make big sweeping changes on a continuous basis, man, your life can change in an instant. But for a lot of us, making consistent, considered change over a decent enough period, we change too. We absolutely do. Don't give in. Believe in yourself. You are worth it. You are absolutely worth it. That gets me onto worthiness. That's a whole different thing for a whole different video. But you are worth striving for your dreams. You are worth living deeply, richly, boldly in this life. Because we only know for sure that we have one of them. So live it. Embrace your community. Be a part of your community. Be deeply living within yourself and get out there. Okay, last bits to wrap it up. Oh, here's a really good line. Really, really good line. You don't wait until you believe. You act until the belief catches up with you. That's pretty cool. Because during this process, during this transition of changing some of these beliefs, as I said, there's some supercharged ways of doing it faster. But even if you do it the slow, methodical way, you're going to have concurrent beliefs happening at the same time. And your actions will decide which belief gets more energy. So the action dictates the belief that holds truest. We have a lot of conflicting beliefs in our heads. And when we stop and analyze them, some of them just don't make sense. But the actions that you take on a regular basis define the beliefs that are the most true for you. Okay, so we're going to close up. I just want to take a moment and I'm going to get into my position that I talked about before. So crossing my arms at my wrists, palms together, fingers interlocked, and under my chin. I'm going to cross my ankles with my noisy chair, close my eyes, relax my shoulders. Again, takes me to a calmer place. It's wonderful. Find in that stillness just whatever message that has come through for you, feel it deeply. Start to make some change. If you want to know in a fun way which characters are running your mind, there's a link to a quiz below. If you want to have some more advice on how to navigate this, because it is simple, but it's not simple inside our minds when it's happening. So the process itself can be broken down into this simple thing. It's basically, you get triggered, you have an emotion, your belief says do blah, you do blah, and that forms a habit. Change the do blah, and you can start changing what you believe and how you react to life. In fact, you start acting with life instead of reacting to life. It's a really good way of putting it. That's all fine and well. I don't know where I was going. I kind of got lost in my head. Knew that would happen at some point. Story in my mind. Boom. Okay. Sit in some stillness. Whatever has landed for you, embrace it. Explore it. Take your time. Write out your stories that are in your mind. Deceptively powerful process. And what is the story that you are going to stop repeating after watching this video? I'd love for you to comment, share, tell me your story. I'll be on another live in about a week. And if you've listened to this, I'll try and give advance warning. And I'd love for you to chat. I'd love to have some live chat and interaction with some people and to help them through whatever it is that they're going through. Because I think that we can all live more rich and full lives than we're living. And it's small things that are the things that are stopping us from doing that. And they're not that hard to change in concept, but they take a bit of work. And I'm happy to help people with that. Okay, there might be some stuff coming up in the future with some downloadable content maybe for the next video. I might have something that people can take away. Other than that, thank you very much for watching. If you liked any of it, got any insight out of it, like, subscribe, and enjoy your bloody day. Live life like a madman or a madwoman. I'm open. Ciao.